Hey guys, Chris Biscardi back again. This is Introduction to CSS. So you'll see that we have the website from the last video up on the right, and the structure is on the left. Now, to include a style sheet or a CSS file, you need to use the link tag. So the link tag has a couple attributes. One is rel, which is the relation, and one is href. The rel attribute describes what the relationship of this link is to the current document. So in this case, this link is pointing to an external style sheet, so we put style sheet inside of rel. Href is the URL of the CSS file that you're going to use. In this case, we're using something called a relational URL, which means that if this was put on example.com, it would look for the style.css file on example.com/style.css. Link is a self-closing tag since we don't need to put any information inside of the tag. For example, this h1 tag, we have to put hello world inside of it. Since it's self-closing, you can just put the slash inside of the arrow. So to create a CSS file, open your text editor, and inside of it, put this. Save this CSS file right next to the index.html file we had earlier. Now, CSS rules are created in two parts. The first is the selector. In this case, we're selecting the body tag. And the second part are the options. In this case, we're changing the background color of the body tag and also the color of the body tag, which will be the text color. We're using black for the background and a random shade of blue for the color. So with both of these files saved, if we refresh, we see that now the background is black and the text is blue. Now at this point, I'd like to introduce a concept called specificity. What this is basically, if I want to select the paragraph tag, the P up here, and I don't want it to be blue, I can make a more specific CSS rule. So in this case, I can do body P, which selects all P tags within the body. And I can change the color to, I don't know, some random pink. And we'll save that. And if we refresh, we see that now the paragraph is pink. This is once again called specificity, and it refers to how specific the CSS rule is. In this case, the body P CSS is more specific than the body. Now at this point, I'd like to introduce another concept called the inspector. So if you remember in the last video, I suggested that you use Chrome, and there's a reason for this. It's because if you right-click in a Chrome window and click Inspect Element, the inspector shows up. Now if you're using Firefox, you can download something called Firebug. For reference, that's Firebug. And you can Google for that. It's a plugin. If you're using any other browser, there are similar plugins. So what the inspector does is it shows you your HTML structure, And if we expand all this, you'll see that all of this is exactly the same as what we have up here. But in addition to this, we can click on our body tag, and if we don't like the black, if we want to try, say, a different color, we can select background color, and we can change it back to white. Or we can change it to a gray. Now this doesn't actually change your style.css file, as you'll see that none of this is changing. If we refresh this page, it'll go back to being black. The inspector is a really good tool when you're trying to try out different colors or debug information. We'll get in more depth about the inspector in later videos. Now, going back to the CSS file, you'll see these look really strange. It's a hashtag and then 3 or 6 letters or numbers. This is called a hex color. And if you go to colorpicker.com, you can actually see some of the different hex colors. So if you want a blue, you can click in blue, and we can click in a random spot in blue, and this hex color is hash 222CBD. So we can just put that in here. This 3-character hash is just shorthand for this 6-character hash. They mean the same thing. And that's CSS.